Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lauren and I make videos about teaching and all things related to Charlotte Danielson framework for teaching, researching the best way to navigate that framework so that you don't have to. In today's video, I'm going to be talking a little bit about why I decided to leave my tenure and leaving tenure in general. Leaving tenure is a big decision for a teacher to make. It's not something that we take lightly, and it's a tough decision to make. It's an emotional process as well. You invest so much of your time into the school, the students, the staff. You typically have to be working for about 4 or 5 years before you can reach tenure. Getting your tenure is a big deal. So leaving it is an even bigger deal. A lot of teachers will deliberate whether or not they're making the right decision. They'll second guess themselves. Let's talk about why it's such a hard decision. You worked so hard to achieve this goal of, basically being accepted into the community, into the building. That's what tenure essentially means. It's like you've survived all the hazing, you've passed all of your observations, you've become one of them finally. When you've already invested so much into achieving that goal, even if you're having thoughts about leaving, you can fall into what's called a sunk cost fallacy, which is when you've invested so much time or money or effort into something that you feel like it would be disadvantageous for you to then drop all of that. In addition to becoming attached to your student body, to your staff, to this place that you've dug your roots in and now have called home, and I personally decided to make the decision to leave my tenure. It was almost a grieving process for me. I had been there for 5 years, and when I cleared out all my stuff and, hugged my principal goodbye, it almost felt like the same level of grief that you would experience when you break up with someone in a romantic relationship. Sounds silly, but that's really how it felt. And I actually even brought up in therapy multiple times, like, am I making the right decision? This is really scary. Am I going to regret leaving? All of those things. So without further ado, let's get into some of the reasons why I decided to leave anyway, despite, how scary it seemed. The first reason I decided to leave, tenure has become an overrated concept. Tenure gives you security. However, in this day and age, I don't believe that anything is certain or secure anymore. Anything can happen. It is very hard to get rid of someone who has tenure. You really have to do something very bad to lose your tenure. However, let's say, when you were first hired, you didn't negotiate your salary very well, you got lowballed, you're now locked in to that salary guide indefinitely. And there is no negotiating once you've done the initial negotiation as a teacher. So you are basically sacrificing a potential raise for you're sacrificing a potential raise for job security. And for me, that was not no longer a good enough incentive. I want to be making more money. Which leads me to my second point. Leaving a district is really the only way for teachers to renegotiate their salaries. Even if a school, off a different district offers you more money, the chances of your home district being willing to match that offer is for some reason very uncommon. And maybe now, hopefully, with the current teacher shortage, districts will start to change their mind about that and be open to renegotiating salaries. But I know personally, when I was first hired, I was alternate route. I really didn't know much about, negotiating, and I didn't think that I had the ability to negotiate. So I really lowballed myself because I was alternate route and I just wanted a job. It was very competitive to become a teacher at the time. Now there's openings like crazy and teachers can negotiate better. My third reason is that a lot of people, including myself, had sacrificed happiness and mental health for certainty. We have traded in job satisfaction for job security. And like I said before, I don't believe that anything is secure anymore. And it's not a good enough incentive for me anymore to hold on to a job. As a person who continues to want to grow in life, want to continue learning, grow financially in my career, the job security was not a big enough incentive for me. I also acknowledged that my previous position had taken quite a toll on my mental health, and job security was no longer more important to me than my personal well-being. I wasn't willing to trade the security for my health any longer. I am much happier and more relaxed now at work, in my personal life, and it doesn't really bother me that I'm starting from ground zero as a teacher again. If I forgot to mention, I didn't leave teaching, I just switched districts. And I do want to emphasize that I came from a very great district. Like, the district I was working in had amazing facilities, amazing people, amazing students, and that's what made it very hard for me to leave. But the compensation did not necessarily correlate to the amount of hours that were expected of me to be successful at the job. And there were other things that I can make another video about, but if you are interested to know more about teaching has affected my mental health and ways that you can avoid things like teacher burnout and, take care of your health while being a teacher, look forward to a video on that separately. I always had my resume ready to go in case a better opportunity came about, and that's including, like your portfolio, your educational philosophy. Keep that updated, or at least that's what I did, just in case. If you are interested in, updating your portfolio and your resume, and you want tips on how to ace teacher interviews and prepare a portfolio, check out my video on how to ace your teacher interviews. If you're not sure if you plan to stay in teaching for the rest of your life, tenure is probably the worst thing you could latch onto. With such high turnover currently, like I said before, last year when I left, I was tenured, and 20% of our tenured staff left the same year that I did. And this is not something unique to just my district. This is part of the current teacher crisis that the United States is experiencing. But with such high turnover, tenure should not be a factor, in my opinion, in whether or not you stay at your current district or whether or not you leave teaching altogether. Okay. Back in the day, tenure held a lot more weight, but now there are so many other corporate opportunities that are competing with teaching. A lot of teachers are qualified to, make sometimes even double their salary in a corporate field. So staying in a district or in teaching because of tenure, in my opinion, nowadays doesn't hold the same weight that it did back then. If you're not sure if you want to stay, if you're looking around at other districts or other job opportunities to see if it's a better fit, you'll know, the only way that you'll know is to maybe switch districts. And, you might be on the brink of quitting teaching altogether, but if you try a different district, you might love it. And it's really all about the fit. Just because you're not successful at a certain grade level or in a specific demographic of students doesn't mean that you wouldn't be a rock star in a different district with a different demographic of both teachers and students. So just because you're unhappy in one district doesn't mean you couldn't be in your dream job at a different district. Okay, every school has their, grass is greener on the other side, and is going to have their problems and annoying parts. And that's one of the reasons it took me so long to decide to be okay with leaving, because I thought, I'm just, I'm taking my job for granted. I'm just, the grass is always greener somewhere else. What if I hate this new district? But if you're offered a job somewhere else and you're not happy in the district that you're at, you're going to be kicking yourselves and constantly thinking, well, what would it be like if I had left? And if you move to another district and you still hate it, the thought process should not be, well, I should have stayed in my old district. It should be, no, well, I'm not happy here and I wasn't happy in my old district, so I either have to try another place or leave teaching. If you've given up tenure for another school or for a different career altogether outside of teaching, I would love to know your experience and how it affected you. I'm also going to link below resources to other teachers who've told their stories of either leaving districts or leaving teaching altogether. To summarize the points that impacted my decision to leave, I don't believe tenure holds the same weight that it used to. Leaving a district is the only way to renegotiate your salary as of right now. Some districts will make exceptions, but the reality is, hopefully after a teacher shortage like the one we're having, districts will start to reconsider that and be more willing to renegotiate salaries. The third reason, mental health and well-being and happiness, far more important to me than certainty and job security. I am confident enough in my abilities that I can get a job doing whatever I want, because I am a hard worker, and I don't want to be persuaded by just, this dangling carrot of job security, because what's the point of being secure in a job that you are unhappy with? This piece of advice is just to have your resume and portfolio updated at all times, even if you're not looking, just to keep you sharp. And I would recommend just going on interviews to keep your interview skills sharp, because you never know what happens, even if you are happy at your job. Some people were so happy with their job, and then 2019 hit, all their admin got fired, all of maybe their support systems of teachers got fired, and when they came back from online learning, it was a whole different school, a whole different set of people, a whole different culture, and they could have been there for maybe 25 years, and now it's a whole different ball game. All right, so my last piece of advice is, you are not sure if you want to stay, holding on to tenure is the opposite of what you want to do. If you're not sure if you want to stay in teaching, I recommend, before you quit altogether, try a different district, because it really is all about the fit. If you're working in elementary and you absolutely hate it and you're certified to teach K through 12, try high school, and vice versa. If you're working in a high-income area and you absolutely hate it, try working in a low-income area, or vice versa, or a different, demographic of students, and see if that works better, because you really never know. Even if it means giving up your tenure, you could be much happier, and it'll give you some time to think about it even more. All right, have a great day. See you in the next video.
I also wanted to quickly add that most people who are in the normal workforce will not stay at one profession for the rest of their lives. And now more than ever, people are cycling through 3 or more different careers in one lifetime, which just adds to the point that tenure is becoming more of a thing of the past. This is not to say that if you are really happy at your job and consider your school to be home and love working there, that you shouldn't stay, then tenure is an amazing thing. It's an awesome, asset for you to have. But what I am trying to say is not knocking at tenure or people who choose to keep their tenure. I think that's wonderful. But if you are not entirely satisfied, you do not have to stay in a place where you don't feel fulfilled. You don't have to stay. If you decide to stay at one career for the rest of your life, it should be because you truly loved what you did and where you did it, not because you felt like you just had to hang on because you signed yourself up for this lifelong position by accepting tenure. If you accepted tenure and you feel like your circumstances have changed and you don't feel like you're being treated fairly, you don't have to stay.